Hello dear students. So now let's see what are fact-finding techniques, which is an again important part of requirement engineering. I'm Dr. Alifia Jakidar, Assistant Professor of Abid and Namdar Senior College. Do like and subscribe to the channel. Now what does fact-finding technique means here? Who, what, where, when, how and why are the questions asked during fact-finding techniques. Current system, who does it? Why does this person do it? And proposes who should do it. What is done? Why is it done if I'm talking about current system? And propose is going to be what should be done. Where is it done? Why is it done? And where should it be done? That is your proposed system. When and why is always in current. When should it be done? That is asked in proposed system here. How is it done? Why is it done this way? How it should be done? Again in proposed system. So requirement investigation is the heart of your system analysis, as you all know. Using variety of tools, skills, analyst studies the current system, its documents and its features for further analysis. Requirement investigation depends on the fact-finding techniques, and it also includes methods for documenting and describing the feature of the system. There are certain methods that analysts use for collecting data about requirements, and these are called as fact-finding techniques. Formal process of using techniques such as interviews and questionnaires are used to collect facts about system requirements and preferences. This is the first step we must do before designing a database application or any software application. You need to find out the facts. When creating your database or developing a new software, the first phase, even before conceptual or logical design, is to do the fact-finding technique. It is also called as requirement analysis. Do you really need that system? That is the fact-finding techniques. Or what type of system do you need? There are many different techniques to find out what the user needs: interviews, questionnaires, document gathering, and so on. Fact-finding techniques, database developer normally uses many fact-finding techniques during single database project, including there can be the list is examining the documentation, interviewing, group interview, JAD, observing organization and operation, research, questionnaire. Which method above is most commonly used? Although the companies use combination of two or more methods, so interviewing is the most popular method from the above list. The first technique which we are going to see is examining the documentation. It is one of the good system analysts. It will first study the existing system documentation rather than from the people. He will collect, or the team will collect, facts from the existing documentation. Okay. First, analyst will see the organization chart. It is going to identify individual owners, users for the project, and their reporting relationship. He also will find out each and everything about the existing system. For this, analysts have to collect and review documents that describes the problems. Okay. So the purpose of the documentation can be is like it will describe the problem and need for the database. Example is your internal memos, emails, minutes of meetings, employee customer complaints, and so on. It will describe the part of the enterprise affected by the problem. So it will find out the organizational chart, mission statement, strategic plan of the enterprise, objective for the part of the enterprise being studied, task, job description, sample of completed manual forms and reports, samples of completed computerized forms and reports, and it will describe the current system. So various types of flowcharts and diagrams are drawn, data dictionary is done, database application design is done, program documentation is done, and user training manuals are done. The next part is your interview. As we have already said in the previous screen, interview is one of the most, or it has been acceptable part of collecting the information. So your interview involves the eliciting requirements through face-to-face interaction with the client. end user, domain experts or stakeholders associated with this project. So there is always a face-to-face interaction. They are conducted to gather facts. They will verify and clarify the facts. They will identify the requirements and determine the ideas and opinions. Okay. Now there are different types of interviews and questions. The first is unstructured interview, which is conducted at the general level, okay, or subject in mind with very few or specific questions. The interviewer will count on the interview to provide a framework and direct conversations. So here they will depend on the customer. The next comes structured. Here your interviewer will have a specific set of questions to ask the interviewee. Okay. Next is open-ended questions. Questions that allow the interviewee to respond in any way. So there is no structured way of response. Close-ended, a question that restricts the answer to either specific choice or short or direct response, like whether yes or no, is it a female or male. Okay, so these are very close-ended questions where you restrict the answer of the interview. You won't allow for the brief answers. Very short and direct responses are considered. What are the advantages? It will allow the interviewee to respond freely and openly to the questions. It will, the customer or the interviewee will feel he is a part of the project. Okay. Then it is interviewee to follow up on interesting comments made by interviewee. It will allow the interviewer to adapt or reword questions during the interview, so they can change the questions during the interview. It will allow the interviewer to observe the body language of whom he is doing the interview. Okay, so here interviewer and interviewee will interact with each other. They will collaborate. Okay, it is disadvantage, very time consuming and costly, therefore may be impractical. Then the success will depend on the communication skill of the interviewer. The success will also depend on the willingness of the customer to participate into the interview, or you can say the stakeholders to participate in the interviews. So here is the disadvantage of it. Now phases in interview. First of all, you need to select the stakeholders or interviewees whom you are going to interview. You have to design the interview questions. Do you want open-ended, close-ended, and so on. You are going to prepare for the interview. You will conduct the interview and you will post-interview follow-up. You will keep the follow-up of the post-interview. Preparing for the interview, here you need to actually jot down your general interview plan. You're going to write down the questions. You will also write the anticipated answers and follow-ups. You will confirm the areas of knowledge. Set priorities in case of time shortage. If you have, instead of taking 1 hour of the interview, suddenly he says that I have just half an hour, then you have to prioritize your questions. You will prepare the interviewee, okay, with whom you are doing the interview. You will schedule the interview. You will inform the reason for interview, and you will inform the areas of discussion as well. So you have to prepare your interviewee to be prepared for answering the questions. Okay, so you have to have that collaboration. Now how you are going to conduct an interview? Appear professional and unbiased. The moment you appear biased, the interviewee won't give you the desired answers. Record all this information, though it is very small information. Check on organizational policy regarding tape recording. If the organization does not allow tape recording, then you have to take the permissions and so on. Be sure you understand all issues and terms. Otherwise, keep on asking questions again and again in a different methods, different styles, so that you can extract the information. Separate facts from opinions. Give interviewee time to ask questions. Give time for the stakeholders also to ask you questions, so that it gets a clear view. Be sure to thank the interviewee. End on time. Do not say that 1 hour and end your interview after 3 hours. So tips here: don't worry, be happy, pay attention, summarize key points, be succinct, be honest, and watch your body language. So your body language should be very professional and unbiased. Post interview, after you finish your interviews, you're going to prepare the notes, you're going to prepare the report, and look between the gaps of the answers and again form new questions for it. Be ready for the new questions. Summarization. Observation, effective technique for understanding the system. That is the observation, you see and you understand the system. Possible to participate in or watch a person perform activities to learn about the system. So observation also is going to help you for gathering the facts. You are going to watch person perform activities and learn about the system. Useful when validity of data collected is in question, or when complexity of certain aspects of system prevents clear explanation by the end user. Example, studying how student learns through verbal protocols. So here you have to validity of data collected is in questions, or when the complexity of certain aspects of your system prevents clear explanation. So you don't get the clear explanation by the end user. Observation of work environment, a fact-finding technique wherein the system analyst either participates in or watches a person perform activities to learn about the system. Work sampling, a fact-finding technique that will involve a large number of observations taken at random intervals. Okay. Advantages, it will allow the validity of facts and data to be checked. Observers can see exactly what is being done. It can also obtain data describing the physical environment of the task, and it is relatively inexpensive. Disadvantages, people may knowingly or unknowingly perform differently when being observed. Whenever we observe any certain things, it sometimes knowingly or unknowingly starts behaving differently. So if the data is different, if the knowledge is different at different times, then it is going to create mess for us, right, at the time of creation of system. May miss observing certain tasks. Certain tasks may be missed. Some tasks may not always be performed and may be impractical. Again, disadvantages and advantages, I have just put it into two columns. Questionnaire. Now observation is one type of fact finding, the other type of fact finding is questionnaire. Your special purpose document will allow the analyst to collect information and opinions from the respondents. Questionnaire, you will float certain set of questions and get the answers. On basis of that answers, you're going to analyze and then go ahead with your decisions. Free format questionnaire. A questionnaire is designed to offer the respondent greater latitude in the answer. You're not going to restrict the user, you will give the user the flexibility to answer. A question is asked and the respondent records the answer in the space provided after the question. So sometime you write your comment, write your suggestion. At that time it is called as free format. Okay, there the user can write in its own space, own words. Fixed format, here the questionnaire is going to have fixed format and predefined available responses, like do you like my lecture, yes or no. Then you click on moderate, yes, no if you did not like. So that is how you want to fix the format of questionnaire. Types of fixed format, multiple choice question, rating the question, ranking the question, these are fixed format questions. This is how the questionnaires can look. Ranking the following transaction according to the amount of time you spend processing them. Percentage new customer orders, order cancellation, order modification. Then if you see here, it is only yes and no. Here it is strongly agree, no and all that. So you are keeping your fixed your answers. Advantages, people can complete and return questionnaires at their own convenience. It is an inexpensive way to gather data from large number of people. People are more likely to provide the real fact as response can be anonymous, confidential. Responses can be tabulated and analyzed quickly. Disadvantages, sometimes number of respondents can be very low. You don't get respondent for your questionnaires. Sometimes questionnaires are incomplete. Normally users don't fill in the details very accurately. They just randomly put it, so it can be incomplete. It may not provide you the opportunity to adapt or reword questions that has been misinterpreted, because your questionnaire has already been floated to the people. You cannot observe and analyze the respondent's body language. You don't know who is filling your questionnaire. You just get the result. Sampling your existing forms and files. Sometimes sampling means process of collecting a representative sample of document, forms and records. For example, you want to collect for example like maps. So you can get it from the you can say offices where it is kept, the maps are kept. Okay, archaeological departments, you can get weather forecasting, you can get the maps. So they are representative sample documents. Organization chart, memos, standard operating procedures for current system, completed forms, flow charts. And what is the sampling technique? Randomization. You're going to characterize by having no predetermined pattern or plan for selecting a sample data. Stratification, you systematically, sampling techniques are done to reduce the variance of the estimates by spreading out the sample. Like for example, choosing documents or records by formula or by avoiding very high or low estimates. Discovery prototyping, the act of building a small scale representative or working model of the user's requirement in order to verify those requirements. Joint requirement planning, that is also called as GRP. It is very highly structured group meetings are conducted for the purpose of analyzing problems and defining requirements. It is also a subset of more comprehensive joint application development, that is JAD, which encompasses the entire systems development process. Then next is research and site visit. Research is you go on researching to the documents, to the system, and then you find out the things. Certain times when you're talking about archaeological and all those things, you have to site visit, right? A useful fact-finding techniques is to research the application and problem. Advantage, it can sometimes save time if solution is already exists. Researchers can see how others have solved similar problems or met similar requirements. It can keep researcher up to date with the current development. Disadvantages, it may require access to appropriate sources of information, may ultimately not help in solving problem because problem is not documented elsewhere. Thank you so much for watching my video. Any queries you can write down in the comment section. Thank you very much.